Hello, I'm Matthew Campbell and welcome once again to Punters Inside Run. Great to have your company. We're racing right around the country once again. The Group 1 Winterbottom in Perth. It's Zipping Classic Day at Caulfield and it's the Group 3 Festival Stakes at Rosehill. Mick, Sharkie as always joins me. Shark, good racing again. Great day at Caulfield and for once, 3 good tracks.
Matty, this was the weekend, if you remember last spring, that we finally got let back on track. Remember there was a bit of a celebration at Caulfield and the MRC dialed it right up and everyone went a little bit crazy because we were allowed out of the house for the first time in a long time. But yeah, looking forward to the weekend's punting. The Winterbottom's a race I think the Eastern Staters will dominate, so it might not be one for the locals this year. We'll
get to that shortly. We'll also get to the fact that you've referenced Seal already, a little bit crazy. Oh. But we'll talk about those races. And Nick H is back from a short break from punters.com.au. He'll join us to talk about the Group 3 Festival Stakes and all the racing at Rosehill, but let's get into it. And we start with that Group 1 Winterbottom. We got the railway right last week, the mile race. This is their biggest sprint race, $1.5 million. And you talked about the fact that it's a home and away sort of game, isn't it? The Interstate Raiders up against the best of their locals. It appears that way on paper.
Yeah, Godolphin sending a couple over with Palele and Valana, who you tipped the other week and got up at a good price. And the astrologist just keeps keeping on. Like, if there's a big dance, the astrologist's there, isn't he? Like, he is absolutely at the door when it's open and he's in and having a good time. So he's in another Group 1. And Rothfire, Rob Heathcote taking Rothfire over there. Won the race a few years ago, Matty, with buffering, as we all remember. I think Rothfire could maybe do it again for Robbie Heathcote. You're
thinking Rothfire's the best of the visitors?
Yeah, I think he is. I think getting right back on top of the ground, a proper dry track with good speed in the race. He's got a draw from 3 where he'll just be able to lob in that first 4 or 5, which I think really suits him. The one thing that he doesn't want to be, though, is hemmed in. You've got to let this horse flow into a race. They showed some speed on him last time. I think you just want him out in a little bit of room from the 450, and if he's there at that point with that sort of run, I think he'll win.
All right, who's best of the locals then to take on Rothfire?
I think Snipperucci.
Snipperucci?
Right? What a name. Yeah. Have you seen a better name in a while than Snipperucci for Stephen Miller? So I think that horse is absolutely airborne, good on-speed horse, leads, kicks really well. Won a week ago over the 1,200 metres, so the same track and distance, ran decent time. I think he can run a really cheeky race.
All right, have your tips then for the Group 1 Winterbottom.
Well, I'm with Rothfire. Yeah, I think he'll go and get it done. Snipperucci, next best for me.
Who's on Snipperucci? Pikey?
Who is on Snipperucci? Jason Brown.
Jason Brown.
Who's riding well. But from one,
the astrologist.
I think he'll just jump and lob and be in the right spot. So, yeah, the astrologist, Valana, Palele, they're all in there in the mix for third. But I'm quite keen on the toppy, Rothfire.
All right, I've got Rothfire on top as well. I'm going with the 3-year-old down the bottom, the unbeaten 3-year-old My Bella May. Yeah. Done everything right. Got from a maiden through to a listed race, the Placid Arc. So that's the sort of the question mark at the lightweights. My Bella May to run second. And Elite Street, who won the race 2 years ago and was placed last year to run third. So I've got 1, 16 and 4. So that is the big sprint race at Perth. We've also got the Sandown Guineas. How about a tip for that?
Yeah, well, I'm with King's Consort. I was with him last week as my best bet. When that rain came at Ballarat, his wheels were spinning in that around the turn as the leader sort of skipped away a little bit. So being able to balance up a little bit and finish his race off at Caulfield back on top of the ground, I think that's a good scenario for him. He's double figures. Like, I think he's better than $15. So I'll play again, given he was a beaten favourite last week, at that good price.
I've got See You in Heaven as the tip there, and my best bet as well. So just black booked it straight away. It went over the line in the Desirable Stakes. Already a Group 3 winner. Now ready for the 1600 at the 4th start for the prep. And we know how talented Richard and Chantel Jolly are at picking out the right race. What about some other bets at Caulfield?
Well, it's one of those days, Matty. If you've been following a few, there's plenty across the card that are there with a super chance. If you look at the Eclipse, you've got Keats, who's racing really well, absolutely flying there. Literary Magnate, I thought, in the Heffernan was a really good chance. Twilight Glow, Grey Rivers there with a really good hope as well. There's interest across the card.
I've got another best bet in Remedies in the first. Very impressive run first up at Cranbourne. Yes, the time wasn't that flash, but didn't have to do a bit, and I think there was still another gear to come and went to the line pretty well held. And I found one at odds for best value at Get Up Girl. Thought the run was terrific on
it was
behind
huge.
Magic
50
Time.
to 1 too.
Yeah, Magic Time's a form race that we said we're going to watch over into autumn. But unfortunately, David Gately's also found it at his value, our man Gator. So as soon as Gator says it's best value, you lose two or three points in the price.
That's a really good race, the Twilight Glow, and Grey River and horses like that all coming through similar form lines. I think it's a pretty competitive betting race. So whatever you like in that race, you're going to get a good price.
It's a good day's racing at Caulfield. There are our tips. Also in the Group 1 Winterbottom. Coming up next, Nick H will join us to talk racing at Rosehill and the Group 3 Festival Stakes.
To betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
The big racing continues in Sydney. It's Rosehill. It is the Group 3 Festival Stakes, the main event. Mick Sharkie is with me as always. Nick H, back from a short break, mate. Great to have you back.
Great to be back. Did need a little freshen after spring, and hopefully it brings about some winners, of course.
Speaking of fresh, and you were down in Tassie where I believe it was pretty fresh.
Very, very cold indeed. A lot of snow, which you don't expect in November, so hopefully heats up a little bit now.
Let's talk about the Group 3 Festival Stakes. It's over 1,500 metres. Probably the most interesting runner of the day, right around the country.
Absolutely.
Is the top weight in Sunshine Rising. It's a 9-year-old that hasn't raced for 22 months out of Hong Kong. You've been used to racing against the very best over there, but it's first up and it hasn't won for over 3 years. So what do you make of it?
As you mentioned, it's a very interesting profile to have 60 kegs, one run in 3 years. You know, it's a bit of a risk, but his trials have been magnificent. Even his first one, he didn't win it. I think he was in behind him about 4th, but he was climbing on the backs of the runners there and charged through the line. He's looked magnificent in those trials. As you mentioned, he raced against some very, very good horses over in Hong Kong and beat Beauty Gen and Waikuku.
It's the trials that sort of get you into the horse, but then that fact that he hasn't raced for a while that sort of puts a question mark over it, doesn't it?
Oh, well, you're charging to get a bet on once you've seen the trials, and then you go back and look and you see that he's had one run in 3 years and you think, But the form's on the border, it appears to be, Nick, and the other good thing he's got going for him is he's one of a few ex-Hong Kong horses that have returned to Australia in recent months and had an impact straight away. So it's not as if this hasn't been done before. We've got a little bit more confidence in that Hong Kong form, and this is top shelf Hong Kong form.
Yeah, 100%. We've seen it with Joyful Fortune, the sprinter, and I think they wouldn't be running him if they didn't think he's right. It's still a risk, of course, even fitness-wise, being off for so long, but you've got to have some faith off those trials.
Mirror Vision is a horse that almost won a Group 1 over the Carnival behind Ice Bath. It was a dual accepted. The Snowden campers decided to run the horse in this race. That's a good sign for Mirror Vision fans.
Yeah, absolutely. Not having a lot of luck as far as barriers. Look, the map doesn't look too bad. There's not too much speed inside it. It's just whether a couple of those drawn sort of barrier 1 and 2 kick up and settle a bit further forward than you'd normally expect, and that would cause a little bit of trouble, but certainly form is very strong.
Cisco Bay's absolutely flying at the moment.
Going
second
really well
in the big dance.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's solid form for a race like this. So, yeah, apart from or away from the toppy, it's a very even
field, isn't it? Yeah. So I guess that begs the question: where did you land? And does the toppy make your first 3?
Yeah, I thought I'd go around him when I first looked at the form and how long he'd been off. But Sunshine Rising for mine is the class and the one to beat off those trials. Going with Coal Crusher in for second, although will be vulnerable late over the 1,500, and Kiss Some will find this a hell of a lot easier than a Wait for Age Group 1.
Shark, where did you finish?
Well, I'm with Kiss Some, number 10. Yeah, I really liked his run in the Silver Eagle first up. He just was in restricted room. I think if he would have got a clearer run at him, he might have finished half a length closer, and that was a good race. Obviously, the Cantala was too strong for him at Wait for Age, but they had to throw at the stumps. Back to this level. The barrier's the only trick, so I'm hoping they push forward and they try and slot in somewhere in the first half of the field. If they do, I think he can win. Sunshine Rising next, and Kerwin's Lane in the placings as well. He's going really well.
Yeah, I had Kerwin's Lane and 4th pick, but I've landed on Mirror Vision, the fact that the Snowdens decided to go there. And similar to you guys, Coal Crusher's the one they have to catch, gets a nice drop in weight but goes up in grade, and Kiss Some to run 3rd, so similar numbers in the Festival Stakes. What else are we backing, mate? And what are your best? What is your best for the day at Rosehill? It's
a tough day. A lot of the races you're getting each way prices the field, so we're not going to have to get too many winners, although we'd love to get quite a few, but
love to get too many.
I won't complain.
Always.
But we'll go with an each way best bet in a race 4 with Worthily. I thought a really good run there first up at Flemington, went to the mile. First up, barrier 14, just got trapped 3 wide, no cover throughout, stuck on pretty well. Whether that's the strongest race, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought did enough there given that run. And second up, 1,800 metres, that was the profile we saw him win in his first preparation in Australia. So I do like that profile for Saturday.
Any value outside of that?
Going race 9 through the cracks, $26 now.
Wow.
The setup isn't quite right.
I like the name. Through the cracks, it slipped out for $26.
Hopefully it slipped through the cracks with the bookies here. Was nom for the Hunter, or accepted for the Hunter, missed a run there as an emergency. The 1,300 would have been better. I just can't pass up at $26. Okay. He's a quality animal. Low draw, will be cuddled up, won't do a lot of work in the run, just needs the brakes in the straight. The pace looks genuine there, so worth an each-way play, $26.
All right, through the cracks. Have you got anything else to follow?
I'm just going to follow Nick.
Yep.
He's on the ball there, 26 to 1 each way bet. That'll get some of mine.
All right, I got Tony B. I thought I was pretty impressed with Tony B's win last start in race 4, number 4. Was impressed with that win. Goes up from benchmark 72 to benchmark 78. And J-Mac takes the ride, so I don't think that's a negative for Tony B. Nick, great to have you back, and we'll be watching very closely on the weekend, especially with Through the Cracks.
Yeah, if Through the Cracks win, that'll be a nice celebration.
All right, that's Nick Cates joining us. You can get all his tips at punters.com.au. But next up, we'll recap everything on the big call.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.
Welcome to the big call. This is the segment where we deliver you all our tips and best bets, and we'll start with Nick H from punters.com.au. In the Festival Stakes, he likes the top weight Sunshine Rising to beat Coal Crusher and Kiss Some 1-7-10. In race 4, he's got his best each way bet of the day is Worthily, number 3, and his best value bet at good odds in race 9, Through the Cracks, number 2 at around $26.
$26.
I like it. Shark.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you playing?
Winterbottom, let's start there, Matty. Race 8 at Ascot. Rothfire, number 1 on top for me. Really keen on it. We're going to put in Snipperucci for 2nd and Bo Rosser for 3rd in that race. And obviously we've got Sandown as well, so we're going to focus on the Zipping Classic, and we're going to rip in with Without a Fight, my best of the day.
Yep.
Number 10 to beat Found Declare, number 1, and Luncey's number 9. Sandown Guineas, I'm going with value. King's Consort, number 1. I think he's just about ready. My best at Caulfield, Without a Fight, race 7, number 10. Value. King's Consort, race 8, number 1.
You've got shares in King's Consort, I thought.
Yeah, well, we bred him actually on the farm.
What about in Rosehill, your tips?
The Festival Stakes, Kiss Some on top, number 10 from Sunshine Rising 1 and Kerwin's Lane, number 2.
Around the mark, I think. But we'll start with the Winterbottom for me. I've gone with Rothfire as well, ahead of My Bella May and Elite Street, so 1-16 and 4. In the Zipping Classic, I'm with you, Without a Fight again. Luncey's and Kukaracha are the other selections. In the Guineas, it's my best bet of the day. It is See You in Heaven over from Adelaide, number 13. That is race 8. That is my best bet. Outside of that, I like Remedies to win again in race 1. Very impressed with that first up win, race 1, number 10. And my value bet is Get Up Girl, race 4, number 9. Over to Rosehill, I've gone with Mirror Vision on top. I've left out the Hong Kong Visitor, so I've gone with Mirror Vision, Coal Crusher and Kiss Some, 5, 7 and 10. And another bet at Rosehill is race 4, Tony B, number 4. And we get to the quaddie.
Do I dare ask what happened last? I just assumed you got it because I said you would get it, so I thought, well, you must have got it.
I just had a blind spot on that Mitch Beer horse, Mahemeth or whatever. Just didn't even see it. Got the rest, of course. I missed by 1 as usual.
Judging by his social media, I think he had a blind spot the next morning after
very
celebrations.
Funny man. Very funny man, Mitch Beer. All right, at Caulfield, quaddie numbers 1, 4, 6, 7, 9 to 1, 4, 6, 9, 10. Just the 2 in the third leg. I've gone with the Fortune Teller and See You in Heaven. If they go together, if you went to see a fortune teller and they said See You in Heaven.
Yeah, not good.
Not good. You'd be looking at the traffic as soon as you walk out, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And in the last leg wide, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 14. That gives you around 33% if you invest $100.
You know what, Matty?
Okay.
I reckon you'll get that.
I'll just write that down. I'll get it this week.
I reckon you will.
Yeah. In brackets, missed 1 leg by 1. Mate, as always, thank you very much.
Go on there, Matty. Good fun.
Mick Sharkie joining me as always. Also thanks to Nick H from punters.com.au. Don't forget to get all the tips, subscribe below, and we'll see you next time on Punters Inside Run.
The betting brand for sports fans. That's better. Gamble responsibly.